Hey everyone, I need your attention for 1 minute. This is not one of those ads. This is something that has changed my entire life. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know that this is all about personal development as the foundation for everything good in your life. And this podcast is now sponsored by Growth Day, which is the world's first all-in-one personal development app. I mean, oh my gosh, can you imagine having everything all in one place that you need to create the life that you want? Now you can. So if you've been struggling with your motivation, your mood, your productivity, or your purpose, you have to check this out. Growth Day helps you consciously change your life and achieve your potential. It has all the self-improvement tools, motivational classes, and life coaching all in one place. So many of us want to improve our lives, but the question is how? Where do we start? What do we use? How do you get unstuck? How do you make self-improvement stick? Well, research shows how. It's when you consistently journal, track your habits, set goals, learn from empowering mentors, and challenge yourself that you'll be happier, healthier, and more successful. But let me ask you something. Where do you actually do all of your personal development work? I have to tell you that over 300,000 people use Growth Day for a reason. It works. It's the world's #1 software for self-improvement. Growth Day has an amazing mindset journal that I absolutely love, a habit tracker, and a goal-setting system. In fact, I bet if you went to my stories this week, you probably saw me using the journaling app and telling you to do it too, because it's the first time that journaling has ever actually stuck consistently in my life because of this app. And best of all, Growth Day has live inspirational classes every single week from the world's top motivational speakers and life coaches. These are people who have impacted my life in huge ways. These are mentors who I already knew and loved. In fact, this is something that's so huge for me, you guys. I personally teach a class in Growth Day every single month, and it is one of the most fun things that I get to do, and I'd love to see you there. These classes will truly shift your life. There's always something new that you will learn. So join me and 300,000 achievers growing our lives with actual real intention. Visit growthday.com/Lori for a free trial. Yes, you can try this for free. So go to growthday.com/Lori and go live your best life. You guys, that's growthday.com/Lori. And I can't wait to see you there. Everyone wants big, everyone wants fast, and it just is so not true or real. It's fake. Nothing is built that way. And if you see it built that way, it doesn't last. And if you see it built that way and it is lasting, they're usually dying. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is another really fun episode. If you don't know, we have been doing some live podcast recordings, and we are calling them the living room sessions. And when I say we, it's not just my other personality. It is with one of my best friends, Lindsey Schwartz, who has the Powerhouse Women podcast. And she also has the Powerhouse Women event. You guys, it is so much fun. So this is actually part 2 of our first living room session, and it is the Q&A portion. So I don't know about you, but I actually love the Q&A portions when I listen to live recordings because it's so much fun to hear just the different questions that are coming up from the audience. And so many of the questions are also questions that I have when I sit in audiences and want to talk to the people who are doing the thing that I want to do. So I hope you love it as much as we loved recording it. And it's so much fun. If you get to ever come to one, you get a shout out, obviously. If there's anyone you resonate with, go follow them. And you guys, we are recording this at the Good Vibes Media Studios. And you can go follow them on Instagram. Go check out the show notes. They also have, if you are in the Arizona area, in the Phoenix area, you can absolutely get memberships to be able to use their recording studios, their photo shoot studios, their video studios, pretty much any anything that you want to do in media, you can do it here. I do photo shoots here. I will be using this for the launch of my product for all of the visuals. You guys go and check them out. Check out the show notes and let's get started. So what are you going to hear in this episode? You are going to hear questions about keeping up with demand when you're scaling your business. You are going to hear questions about finding groups of friends who you can feel more connected to during your business journey. There are questions about setting expectations with your partner when you're going after what you want to go after. There are so many amazing questions. I loved it, and let's get started.
All right, we are going to do some Q&A because we want to hear from you and your question. You will actually get featured on our podcast, both of our podcasts as well, which before we dive into the first question and tell you how this is going to go, I actually just want to take a moment to acknowledge Lori just hit 1,000 episodes on the Earn Your Happy podcast. I mean, that's such a huge milestone. You guys, and I was messaging you this week that your podcast was such a huge impact, had such a huge impact on my journey. How many of the rest of you listen to Earn Your Happy? I mean, I see Lori and Chris like every day, but when I look at the podcast, it's literally like their two faces are the ones I listen to still consistently. It's huge. So
thank you guys so much. And it's from so many. I have to actually also acknowledge Nikki Butler in the room too. She is my podcast manager. And I will say, since she's come on, I have so much more fun because when you find someone who can truly let you go and fly, and she gets my crazy brain. I sent her 3 voice notes today. I have 4 I haven't listened to from her. When I find someone who you just mutually respect each other and you find a workflow, because that's very real, you guys. It takes some time to find your workflow. And she's given me grace, and I'm just really grateful for you and the work that you do. So thank you.
And she actually does both of our podcasts. She's the best. So
the best.
Hit her up. So who wants first dibs at first question? All right, Ashley, right in the front. That's easy.
Hello, thank you. Okay, Ashley Brookstrand here. The Instagram is SSU Network, which stands for She Speaks Up for Her Faith, Her Family, and Her Dreams. So I'm in this crazy transition. I'm a mom of 3. I have a 1-year-old, just stopped breastfeeding. And
Freedom!
Free boobies!
Freedom. Wait, is that allowed on the podcast? Not this past Powerhouse, but the one before. I got the Bliss Tribe book because you gave it to us. And I was like, I'm going to freaking do this. Because it was coming out of the pandemic. And it worked. Like, I found friends. And then I thought that was just what I wanted. But I realized I wanted women that got me, right, with these crazy dreams. So now all of a sudden that I'm in momentum, right, my business is blowing up and I can't keep up. I'm like, oh no, I thought I just wanted mom friends. And I have all these mom friends wanting to go have park day and coffee day. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I just want that. Like, I don't want to talk about diapers and what brand is the best. So I found some close friends. One is in the room, and I found my 2 running buddies. I guess the question is just, is it okay to like just let go of all what I thought I needed and just be okay with what is?
Well, I'm not a mom, but also I feel like everyone can like put, like, I thought that I needed this and now I need this, and that's okay too. And if there's something that community, just go and give it some thought. Like, maybe you journal about it or just think about it. Maybe that's all you need, is to say, hey, is there something that this is serving? Like, maybe I do need their support in certain areas, and maybe I'll meet with them once a month, right? Like, maybe it's once every 2 months. Like, you want to keep that connection, maybe just to have it for, maybe they give you really incredible advice when you're like, what is this diaper rash thing? Like, how is this happening?
Sometimes you need that.
Yeah,
right.
Sometimes you need that.
The hardcore moms.
Yeah. And that's okay. But from what I hear of my friends who are mothers, they use it for the season that they need, and then it's okay to go forward in another season. And it's totally permission to do whatever you need, because otherwise you're holding on to relationships that actually aren't serving you, and then you're not serving them. So it's serving no one. You know what I mean? If you guys ever been half in something where it's actually like kind of harmful or hurtful to the other person, where you're like, I know this is not for the long haul and I know it's eventually going to end. If you're kicking the can down the road, freaking kick it now. Like kick it off the cliff because you're only going to cause more harm later. So if you're like, this actually wasn't, it's all trial and error, right? Like we don't know what we need until we actually experience like, oh, nope, that wasn't it. And that's the hard part. This is where it gets challenging.
I think the deep fear is like, on my deathbed, who will be there? You know? And obviously that's why I'm such an advocate for your family, if you can. But it's like, okay, like they'll be there.
Okay, that's a great question too.
Who else will be there?
But when you create these friend groups, it sounds like you created the friend group in a season of like momhood. Like this is based on momhood. So now you have your business friends. Yeah, they may not be there on your deathbed. Like these are the people you're building your business and your websites with. But sometimes they merge. Sometimes they're the same thing. So when you recognize, oh, that's a mom who like, I really actually just, my soul's happy there. Then make time for her. Or that's a business person who, oh my God, like we actually, business is 25% and soul is 75%. Like that's the deathbed friend, right? And so they'll start popping up within these subcategories. And sometimes they won't, but sometimes they will, right? Because we only really get like 1 to 3 of those. So when you spot them, keep them close. When you spot them, keep them close. So on your journey, don't necessarily, set an intention that you would love one of those. But if it's not there, don't force it. It'll come in a walk that you have one day with them, or it'll come in like a business meeting that you have where all of a sudden you guys are just lightning will strike just like with it will.
Like with a marriage.
It will strike.
You're my business.
And you'll be like, I have to share something with you. And thank you so much for being here for me. This meant more than I can tell you. And that's when it gets real. So hold the intention and it will happen.
Thank you so much. I think we set ourselves up for failure if we expect any one person to be a part of our journey forever. Especially if you're an evolving human being, if you're committed to evolving really fast, then pay attention to the relationships. And this is actually something your book gave me such massive permission because I'd never really thought of that before. I only had the model of growing up in the Midwest and everything was very family centric, which I love my family. But our friendship started as a business friendship and evolved to where we do just as many holidays with the Harders as we do with our blood relatives. And that just happened naturally. We didn't force it. We didn't try to make it that way. It just was that friendship that we were like, oh, we want to keep investing in this. So it's kind of evaluating season to season. Do I want to keep investing time and make the time for this friendship? Do I want to make sure this is a part of my everyday life? And how can I make that possible? And let it be okay if when you ask yourself that question honestly, if it's a no, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's safe to evolve. It's safe to evolve out of relationships. And it doesn't mean that they're not important to you, but it might mean that how that relationship looks in your life is evolving as you do.
No matter how you look at people in relationships, there's always insecurities there. Like even the most amazing marriages, they're amazing because they share their insecurities frequently. So they say what they need and they say where they're feeling insecure. Like I don't know if a week has gone by with you on a run where I'm like, hey, maybe I'm feeling more like I'm needing her more than she's needing me in the relationship. Maybe it's last year for me was really, really hard in my business, which I'll be talking about more later, but just a major pivot is happening right now. And I was leaning on her so hard that I was like, hey, I just want you to know, I feel like I am vomiting on you a lot and it's making me insecure that you are going to leave because I have abandonment issues with prior female relationships. And I'm like, hey, if I'm like saying too much, but that's what a real relationship is, right? Is being able to just be so real and vulnerable, but also for her to be like, hey, okay, I don't know if we need to talk about this anymore. Like, hey, let me help support you through having to process this for the 100 millionth time.
I actually never have a problem.
Yeah.
When she says it, I'm like, oh, thank God she's human.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God I have those same insecurities. And no, actually, if you could, what did I tell you the other day? I was like, you're not even coming close to annoying me. If you could actually voice text me more, that would make our friendship better.
But I say these things because the most important thing on the deathbed friends or on those relationships, even the business friends, right, is to say where you're at and what you're struggling with. Because when you hide them or when you try to cover it up, it's going to be weird and it's going to be misunderstood. So, hey, here's where I'm feeling insecure. Like I'm actually going through like some partnership stuff. And there has been more back and forth between us around if I'm going to kind of fail or get triggered in this relationship, here's where it would be. And we're saying this all before and during, and, because attorneys have to get involved with all these things, and then it gets weird. And you're like, hey, on the back end, here's where I'm at. Here's what's happening. The more real you can get, and if people can't handle that, you shouldn't be in business with them, and you should not be on one of those deathbed friendships with them. Do you know what I mean? So let yourself be seen. Let yourself be heard. Be so real and raw, because if those are not your people, they're not your people. If they make fun of you, if they call you out, if they put it on social, awesome. You get to be on the fast track of learning, right? So cool when that happens. God's like, hey, you can get torn apart in public. Have fun. You're like, thank you so much. This is awesome. But you've never learned faster. Yeah? You've never learned faster than when someone judges your character in public, you've never learned faster. When somebody takes something that you were vulnerable with and uses it against you, you've never learned faster. And that's when I know you're all on the fast track, and that's why you're all in this room right now.
So true. Such a good question. Thank you for kicking us off
with
that. Who has the next one? Don't be shy. We know you have them. Samantha in the back.
Hi, I'm Samantha Montalbano. I am an email copywriter, so I do freelance writing the last 3 years. But I think right now I'm in this season where I have 3-year-old twin daughters, and I feel like I'm coming out of the early stages of raising them. And before them, I was a lot more vocal on putting myself out there on social media, on the internet, and since having them, I kind of was in my cocoon season. And right now I'm in this weird in-between where I understand the value of a personal brand and growing that. And I'm going to be launching a podcast too soon. But I'm feeling uncomfortable where I don't feel the...
Yes.
But it's like, I think now that I'm like, and I just turned 30 and, okay, Lori, you probably won't remember this, but I remember I was 20. We've known each other for a while. And you looked at me and you told me, just imagine what you're going to be like when you're 30. And I don't know, for some reason that stuck with me when I was 20. And I remember that. But I think that I'm, of course, at a different place than I thought I would be. Who can relate to that? But I think that just I'm understanding of who I am and my gifts. And I love supporting, and I have that drive and I have that entrepreneurial drive, but I've always felt in this weird place where I love using my gifts and supporting someone else. My question is, I'm torn about what a personal brand means. If I actually want to grow one, I hesitate to show up on social media. I'm all about email. I can grow my email community. I know how to do that, but I'm torn about showing up on social media, basically.
So I want to give you perspective too. Like, I just want to say, I was like, okay, imagine where you'll be when you're 30, and this maybe isn't where you imagine. But I also want to flip it for everyone in this room who is, Chris and I have put our businesses first. And this is just so vulnerable. We've been trying for a baby for like 3 years and we haven't been able to do it. And so now we're jealous of people like you who have the babies and have the life. And we're like, God, maybe we did it wrong. So I want to give you perspective on saying, we're like, maybe we did it wrong, and looking at people like you going, they did it right. And now they have all this space. So it's all good. And so with that said, number one, you're in the perfect freaking spot. Perfect spot. We all are. I am too. I'm at such peace with it. I'm in the perfect spot because for me, I was a shit show at 30 still. Like, you're way ahead of me. So with that said, and there's no ahead or behind, like it all just is exactly where you're meant to be. And we always look back in 10 years and go, oh, that's why that happened. Oh, that's why that happened. So first of all, I just want to say that. Second of all, a personal brand is really, we think it's like, oh my God, we're going to be reaching all these people. Honestly, when we first start out, let's just reach the people we are excited about reaching. Like, that's what a personal brand is. It's personal. Let's just make it personal. Like, hey, if this reaches you today, awesome. If it doesn't, F off. Like, great. No,
Please
really.
say that.
Someone
Sign off your
commented on
emails
my
like
stuff.
that.
Someone commented on my stuff the other day with like, like an Instagram post, you don't give a lot of backstory. Yes, correct, right? And when people post things that I'm like, okay, context, people, like we all don't know each other. Everyone has trauma, all the things. I was like, you're deleted forever because you don't get to come into my world, which is my page, and comment. And that's just my personal take. So for you, if protecting your energy means to block all of the people that are bothering you in this season where you need your energy to be very important for your children, then a personal brand to you means just to talk to the ones who want to hear you and block everybody else. Like, your energy is really important right now. That's why for moms, I'm just like, okay, what does it look like to grow your business, but put those babies first or whatever is most important, and like your healing of your body and yourself and all of the things, and protecting your energy. Because I didn't realize how important that is to like keep that all sacred until you kind of like get a little glimpse of it. And so a personal brand to you could just be like, hey, I just want to talk to 10 women today who hear me, and block everybody else. I'm being so real. Your energy is so important. If anybody messes with that, if it looks like blocking, deleting, who cares? Who cares? Get rid of it, because your energy is sacred. So I think that if you have something to offer and you know that, and you do, then 3 people is enough. 1 person is enough. 10 is enough. And we all know that if you show up every day, that's going to grow. It just does. And I think that you have these gifts, which is why everybody in this room has these gifts. We all do, everyone on the planet. But you guys are just more attuned to them. You've done the work to be in them. So I think for you, like, just you guys, these living room sessions are starting small because we want to talk to our core people. This is like really important to us. So start small. You guys, the power of small is everything. Everybody wants big now. Everyone wants big. Everyone wants fast. And it just is so not true or real. It's fake. Nothing is built that way. And if you see it built that way, it doesn't last. And if you see it built that way and it is lasting, they're usually dying. No, I'm being so real. I've gotten the inside scoop. They're dying. They're dying inside. They have 0 friends. They think that their world is social media or their email list, and they're literally killing themselves. So don't forget the power of like small community and remembering what's sacred to you and keeping that protected.
There really are. There's so many businesses that they don't have like a human being as a personal brand at the forefront. There's so many different ways to build a business, and we get to choose. We ultimately do. Your personal brand can be powerful. And yes, there are sacrifices that come with it. It's a big responsibility. And so it is really, really beautiful that you're asking this question, especially now entering this season as a mom, is how do I want to look at the next decade of my life? I'm coming up on 40. And so I'm like having these bigger conversations with myself. Like, what do I really want the next decade to be focused on? What do I want to look back and be really proud of myself for? And so it's just a beautiful place. Allow yourself to ask these questions. It's probably because you're coming up on like a new decade that you're starting to ask these deeper questions. And that's the perfect place to be.
Hey y'all, if you didn't know, Earn Your Happy is now a part of the Growth Day Podcast Network. This is so exciting to me because I have been looking for a really good home for the show for, I can't even tell you, years, literally. And now I've finally been able to come together and collaborate with other people who have incredible shows, and I want to share them with you. One of the shows is Motivation with Brendon Burchard. And you guys, if you don't know about the beginning of my career, I literally started with Brendon Burchard's work. It's how I launched one of my very first online courses and membership sites, was because he gives so much advice that you can integrate and implement immediately. And that's what you're going to get on the show. Not just motivation, but you're going to learn exactly how to get your stuff out in the world. And not just that, but Brendon runs in the most incredible group of humans who are really doing the thing out in the world that you want to be doing. So go check it out. Go subscribe to Motivation with Brendon Burchard. I promise you, this is going to be one of those shows that no matter when you tune in, you're going to get value. Like, it's not one of those that you're like, God, I listened for 30 minutes and I didn't get what I wanted. Like, from the beginning, you're going to get something that changes your life or changes your business. So go check it out. Motivation with Brendon Burchard. I know you're going to love it. I'm obsessed.
So good. Okay, who's next? Lindsey?
Hi, I'm Lindsey Schwartz. I am a real estate entrepreneur. I invest. I'm an agent. I'm also a coach and new to mastermind facilitation. So very exciting. My question is more about the role. I was really hoping to ask this when Elliot and Chris weren't in the room, but here they are. So my question is really around what role does your spouse play in who runs with you? And what do you do when you're out of sync and you're running faster or slower, if that may be the case, than your partner is? I think that that's something in my house. My husband has more of a traditional job and I'm in the entrepreneurial space and I tend to be running 10,000 miles an hour. And although I think he's running a fast pace, we're at different paces. So how have you handled that when you've come up against that in your own relationships?
Ooh, this is good. I'm actually really glad that they're here.
Yeah, me too.
I am. And I always bring Elliot on the podcast. Some of my favorite episodes that you and Chris do are the ones of you two together. This is such a big topic. And in our relationship, so Elliot is a new entrepreneur, brand new entrepreneur. And I'm like, let's give it a woo for that. While he's stepping out on his own, he has been a part of Powerhouse Women. Little did you know, there was this gorgeous beard behind Powerhouse Women this entire time. I know, shocking. But something I struggled with was, is it safe for me to evolve? And I didn't realize that this recurring theme, this recurring fear I would have to really deal with is this fear of outshining and outpacing people that I love. Now looking back, I project that onto all different people in my life. I've projected it onto like business partners. I had a season, it was actually when I made the first big financial breakthrough I've ever had. I woke up one day and I had this fear that logically I knew wasn't true. But in my body, it felt so real to me that if I became too successful, he would feel a type of way about that. Now, anyone who knows Elliot knows he has never done anything but be my biggest supporter. He actually like pushes me when I'm like, babe, my goal for this launch is X. He's like, but what about 3 times X? He's always pushing me to think bigger. And we have to be really mindful of what's real and what's our upper limit, what's trying to keep us within our comfort zone. So I had to be honest with myself where am I projecting fear onto this relationship and have that honest conversation with him. And when I did, he literally was like, he almost like, I imagine he didn't do this, but I imagine he like patted me on the head and said like, oh, that's so cute. And he goes, babe, you know what I used to tell my friends in high school? I used to tell them I was going to marry a model who was a millionaire. And it was like right around the time I had just been on the cover of So Scottsdale. He goes, I know you were on a magazine cover, but you're not a millionaire yet. So you're not quite getting close to like making me feel inferior. If you could actually work harder. And I was like, got it. But that's our relationship. We have this humor dynamic, right? I love
glad about
snort
snorting.
laugh.
Oh, I snort.
Epic.
It makes me so happy.
But it was exactly what I needed because I was making it way too serious. I was projecting my fears onto him and not having those open conversations. Now what it looks like is we are two very different people. His work schedule looks very different than mine. And I had to realize and uproot all the places where I was maybe bringing judgment into the picture of what his work hours look like, or where I was really just, it was fear of, is this safe for me to be this ambitious? And instead of acknowledging that fear, I was projecting it onto like, well, he maybe isn't supporting me, or I never felt that way, but I see this a lot in like where this comes up in relationships. So I think it starts with honesty of communication. Hey, I'm feeling really vulnerable right now. Is it cool to like have these conversations with you? Can I just admit some things that I've been feeling? And I had to say to him, you did nothing to cause this. I think I'm hitting an upper limit. My growth is starting to trigger some really deep fears, and I just need to talk it out with you. And so once we kind of established that ground rule, then it's opened the door for us to have these really beautiful conversations. But I had to look at where I wasn't willing to just be on my own journey. I was wanting him to be invested in the same personal development and interested in the same things as me. That would be so boring. I mean, it really would be. The fact that he plays Oculus in his underwear and his Uggs. If you ever watch my Instagram stories, let me just say, that adds some flavor to a relationship, right? But it really does. But I had to look for, where is this actually, the fact that he was willing to stay in his corporate job that he did not love for all of those years literally set Powerhouse Women up to thrive. And I had to start voicing that to him and making him know how big a part of Powerhouse Women he was because he was making the choices that he was. So when we started to shift our perspective and look at, instead of like, this is my business and his job, and then we've got our real estate investments over here, we started to look at our household income as like an investment portfolio. So great, we've got one income stream coming in here, we've got this other one, and we started to have conversations about our investment portfolio, right? Our income portfolio, and started to really approach it as partners. And that for me, I think changed everything in terms of the perspective of what roles each of us were playing in that dynamic and what our future goals were together. That these different, revenue generating projects we were working on, including his W-2 job when he had it, how is this helping us get closer to our goals?
It's literally holistic. Like you have to, we always are looking for our match. Like we're excited for like when people are like, they're just like us, or, oh my God, they relate to us so much. That's actually not what you want in a partnership. So in a business partnership, you actually want your opposite. In your relationship, you actually want your opposite, but the same on many levels, but your opposite in terms of like where you guys are really like taking care of what needs to get done in a life and a relationship. And, I feel like I've gotten to have the bird's eye on a lot of different friendship, a lot of my girlfriends' relationships where they're struggling and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish my husband was more into business or personal development. I'm like, actually, I'm kind of like, if they were, it might be a really bad thing for you because you kind of need that limelight and that freedom to go run. And he's kind of really great with the kids. And maybe you should appreciate that he's so good, which I can say this all just looking in on it, right? Of course, if I was in it, it'd be different. But from an outsider's perspective, it's like you have somebody who's doing so the opposite of you that it's letting you go and be that. So how can you go find your running buddies where at home is getting taken care of, or maybe the bills are getting paid and you don't have to look at it? Oh my gosh, how amazing is that? Or, maybe there's a lot of logistical things getting taken care of that you're not even thinking about that you think is boring. That's actually quite sexy because it's allowing you to be sexy out in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of women that I have met who are like, oh, my husband, he's at home and he's doing all these things and I'm going and doing all these things out in the world, but I wish he could be with me. I'm like, do you know what it means to have your husband with you? Because that's going to require hiring a lot of help to cover a lot of things that you need. And if that's where you guys are at, like if you both want to run, then let's talk about who's taking care of all the things that have to happen to let you go run. So appreciating that person for who they are and what they're doing. And, Chris and I have grown at different rates all of the time. For the most part, now we're still kind of growing at the same pace. But in the beginning, he was the person who is in his career. And I was just like the wife, to be honest. It was just, I was in the Midwest and I was just working and doing different jobs and got married. And I was the wife. That's what I thought I was going to be. So when he was out in the world doing his career, it was like, how can I support him? What am I doing, at home to feel valuable? And what does this look like? And then all of a sudden, when he lost his job and everything collapsed in the world and he was in finances in 2007, 2006, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I have these like dreams and these big desires. And also his job at the same time has collapsed and actually for real completely disappeared, and his identity disappeared with it. It was like, what do we do now? And there was an identity fight, right? I think the most important thing in a relationship is, what does that spouse want and what do they need to be? Like, who is their identity really truly to the core, and how can you support that? And then also saying out loud, truly, who is your identity to the core, and how can you support that? And if your identity is the same, how can you guys support what needs to be supported at home? And so if we have like these heart to hearts with our best friends, with our partners, with whoever that is that we're running with or who we want to run with, especially our partners, and we say, what would this look like fully in this relationship for us both to be fully us? And that's a crazy thing to talk about because it might require external help, right? It's like, I actually want to be the star as well, whatever that means out in the world, right? I actually want to be out in my career and be growing this as well. And that's where the friction comes, is when you're both not talking and you're like, well, it's my season to support them, even though, you know, they're the rising star, even though I'm kind of rising over here on Instagram or in my business or whatever. No. What does it look like if we both got to fully live into our identity? What kind of help would we need? How much would that cost? Who would that be? How soon can we get the support? Who's running faster? Who's creating more income right now? This is a real conversation. Who's creating more income right now to get the income to help support this other person that we need? So these are the really real, raw conversations like, hey, who are you? Who do you need to be in the world? Who's making more money right now? How can we support this? What does that look like? And there's trade-offs. There's different times where you're going to run faster. You're going to be bringing in more money. So he's going to need to support a little bit more, vice versa. But that's where you have to just like let go of the ego and say, if we both have here's the thing about relationships, you guys. If you can sit down and say, do we both have the same North Star? Are we both committed to the same goal? Then if we are truly both committed to the same goal, here's the path right now that is most important. Here's the path that is most logical. And that's the game that you get on. And then that is when you're truly on a team. So in football, right, it's like, okay, if you're really all committed to the Super Bowl, then it doesn't matter who gets the credit for what, right? It doesn't matter who's the star of that game. It's like, who's the most important in this game? Is it defense or offense right now? Because get the heck out of here if you're not the most important in the game. Let that other person shine. And that's truly our husbands for the first time this whole time are nodding. For the first time in this whole podcast are like, football?
I know. I was like, look at us using football references. Okay.
Like if you're on the team and you need to start viewing your partnership, and this is true, like truly so important. If you're committed to the team's goal, that's when you view it as a team. And you let go of what you need right now and you say, what is the team's goal? And this is what we're committed to. And the families and the relationships that I see, who I strive to be like, they view their family unit as a team and they say, who's most important on the team right now? How do we support the most important person on the team?
So we have time for
here.
maybe 2 more questions.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ashley Del Rosario. Instagram, Chef Ash Del Ro. So call me Chef Ash.
Wait, does she do all your stuff? All
Yes.
your food? Oh my God,
And she
you bring
brought
your
me
food.
Yes, you're welcome for the snacks. I had to bring them. So I'm definitely at, 2023, pivotal transition, all the things, just insanity going on. I started to go back to school and study nutrition. I'm trying to add value to my people that I have in my circle already. And I'm at just like a crazy part in my life where I trained with this company and I learned performance nutrition, cooking for some athletes. And it's kind of, they come and go. They're, okay, we're getting signed over here. We're getting signed over here. It hasn't really been fulfilling like I thought it would. And so now I have this other part knocking on my door. I have busy moms with kids wanting food. And that's never really called to me, but it's been like consistent. And I'm trying to incorporate that. So I'm trying to change like what I'm doing during the week. But then I have this other side of me where I do retreats, like for you, for Clarita, for so many people that I see in this room. So I travel. Like every month I have a retreat for the rest of the year booked. But I'm trying to figure out what to do with my weeks when I'm not traveling or whatever it is. And I don't even know if I need an assistant or if I need a sous chef or how to even expand what I'm doing.
So it's kind of like a question of
it's
how
so
to scale.
unique.
How do you scale?
Because I love being personal with my people and I love building close relationships.
And that's been like so important to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned that I love most about what I do. And I'm so glad I quit my 9-to-5 job 3 years ago. And you were my first retreat. That's a whole nother conversation.
We have a whole story.
It's a whole story. So I don't even know where to transition and where or how to do that.
So exciting. It's so exciting. Who else is feeling like that pain of like, you're ready to go really big, but how the F do you do it? Okay, a couple of you are feeling that. Amazing, right? Because especially what you do is so personal. And anyone who has not experienced this woman's cooking, I have never felt so loved by a meal. Truly. Anyone who has experienced her food is why we bring her in to cook for all of our retreats. Anyone who hosts retreats. What's your Instagram handle? Just go ahead and
Chef
shout
Ash
it out.
Delro.
Yeah. We literally
Thanks,
met
Linz.
because she tagged me in this beautiful meal that she was
All it takes.
eating when we did our virtual event in 2020. And I was like, do you want to come cook for a retreat? And the rest is history, really.
Yeah.
So how do you scale after this point? What would be like your first...
I had many feelings on this right away.
I'm mostly hunger. I'm glad you
they
brought
were
me
all
these
hungry.
snacks.
So I'm thinking about this from a perspective of any business. And I would, if I had your problems, because they're great problems to have, I would say, who is bringing me the most income? Who is that?
I would say, retreats are number one.
Okay.
And
what else?
like I said, every month I have at least one for the rest of the year. And my sports players. So
Okay. Because you can charge
sports
higher
nutrition,
for them as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So professional sports. But like I said, they come and go. And it's not a personal connection that really feeds me.
What
And
feeds
so
you
honestly,
the most? Which ones?
My personal connections. And
With who?
my meal prep clients that I've actually cooked for years, which Raquel is one that I've met through you. I've been cooking for her for years, her and her family. And that means a lot to me. And I love doing that. And I kind of want to maybe find families that I can just have that core relationship with.
All right. So you need to look at your business as who can bring you the most income and what's also fueling you, because that's where you'll spend your personal time. But then for everything else, you need to get it on some sort of optimization. So something that is not personalized, it's for more of the masses. So like the busy moms that kind of said like, hey, this is our core meals. This is what you're going to order. You're not going to get your time. Like maybe you get on the phone in the beginning, like, hey, this is what we have. But the things that are fueling you and can bring the most income is where your energy needs to go for scaling. But then also you need to have something where you're like, yeah, but there's this big crowd of people that I don't want to leave out. So you need to find a part of your business you can optimize and make just something that they can click, they can find the menu. It's easy. You don't have to touch it. It's like one and done. And then, maybe your retreats as well. Maybe you start creating things I know that it gives you a lot of like energy, but maybe you start creating your 3 plans for those retreats. So it's like, hey, retreat 1, this is more small, this is more intimate, this is going to be what it looks like. This is for X, 1, 2, 3. Like start creating those set things where it takes less of your energy. And then you can go in and still give all of your energy in a personalized customer service way. But to be honest, it takes the guesswork from people like Lindsey and going, what do you want? We've got 1 or 2. Oh my God, I love when people give me only 2 options.
That's true.
I love it.
I almost burped in this thing.
I love that about you.
Oh my
We
God.
have it. That would be a first, and I would love it.
I love that about
was it
you.
the cashews? I don't know.
In
was the bubbly.
kindergarten, I burped the alphabet, and it was very popular to all the kids.
And that's how she became the successful
in 2
person she is
burps.
today.
In 2 burps, by the way. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about, and this is relevant for you. Now I can't remember what book I read this in. It's one of 2 books, so we're just going to go with one of these. But the story stuck with me. This is the thing to take away. So it was talking about like, how do you actually scale when you are the product? Because your magic really is such a big part of why people want to work with you. And the story was about this famous painter. Now, a painter in the same way is you would think, well, only that person can create this painting. But what it was talking about, I think the book is called Clockwork. I think that was the one I read this in. Don't fault me if I'm wrong on that. But it was talking about how this painter was specifically good. So when he got granular, the thing he was specifically good at was painting faces. That was the thing he could do unlike anyone else. It was his signature. People knew that it was one of his paintings based on the facial features. So this blew my mind because I thought like a painter could never outsource parts of his paintings, but he did. He actually outsourced the rest of the painting, and he specialized in painting only the faces. So if we translated this to your business, I, as a client, I've both ordered meal prep from you, and I've also had you come and prep food at our retreats. You've brought your amazing sister-in-law, and I honestly wouldn't know if someone cut up the vegetables that I was eating. But there are parts that you can't outsource that are your magic. So it's answering that question and then asking, okay, who can I mentor? Because I know your heart really is for seeing other people succeed. Who could you mentor that would love the opportunity to work underneath you? And who could come along and support you, who also has a heart for people, that could take things off of your plate that don't have to be you?
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
I guess we do have some value still at this time of night.
I guess so.
Such a great question. Such a great question. And you have grown leaps and bounds in the 3 years that I've known you, and you're just getting started. I'm so proud of you. Okay, was tonight valuable? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, the energy from like beginning to the... I was like, I know we've had you sitting still for a little bit of time, and we're so, so grateful for your attention, for your time. We want to do a lot more of this. And we already have the next 2 events scheduled. February has 4 tickets left, and we've not even really shared it.
We haven't shared it.
It was the overflow from people who wanted to be here tonight. So the best way, what we have decided to do is we're sending out the first link to these events to our text list. So if you're not already on our text list, do you want to share where people can join yours? Okay.
That's so great. Yes.
I'm like, great, I'll share mine first. I think I have it committed to memory. So if you text the word mentor, any of you who aren't on the Powerhouse Women text list, it's the number 602-536-7829. It was also in the invite from tonight. So that's how you can get on the list to make sure you get the first link when we release it. So we have February 16th and March 23rd are the next 2 dates that are available. And then your text number.
So I'm texting this to the people who get on the daily text list. Who's on my daily text list? Okay. Do I spam you? Is it good? Is it worth it?
It's really good.
It's like very permission-based text. I hope it makes you say, I'm going to fucking do it. That's my goal. So if you want to be on that, but this is who I text for this. It's text the word daily to 310-496-8363. So you text the word daily to 310-496-8363. So we're trying to keep it like to the people who are in our communities right now.
Like the real ones, right? The ones that have our
this one's for the real
cell phone
ones.
numbers.
I feel like I need to dump some wine out.
I mean, we have matching jackets. It's like a thing.
It's true.
Hey, I know if you're listening to this podcast that you have big dreams and big goals. And one of the things that can really stop you is struggling with your marketing. Trust me, I have been there. Are you using 10 different systems just to build your online business? Then I want you to try Kajabi. Kajabi helps you build your web pages, set up funnels, and sell your courses, content, coaching, or communities. You've been hearing me talk a lot about funnels on this podcast and the importance of your email list. You can get a free trial at kajabi.com. That's Kajabi.com. I've talked about Kajabi before, but here's something that's super cool and new. They just rolled out an AI assistant for creating your online course curriculum. And this means you just type in a topic that you want to create on a course or webinar and bam, it just generates a sample outline for you. It takes a ton of the hard work away. Of course, you're going to customize it to be your own, but this really helps you get over the struggle of how in the world to start, which is where most people stop. If you're like me, starting is always the hardest part, and that's what makes Kajabi so popular. They've made it easier for creators to build web pages, build courses, build coaching programs, build membership sites, build checkout pages, and build email funnels. So if you're struggling with any of those, you got to go check it out. Go to Kajabi.com. Kajabi was really the first all-in-one system and is trusted by over 100,000 creators. I think that's good enough for me. Also as influencers and marketers who use this. And now their smart AI platform makes it easy to take what you know and turn it into an online course and business. Go start building with a free trial at kajabi.com. That's KAJABI.com.
Want to know a huge secret to my success? Okay, not only my success, but just about every single person that I have interviewed on this podcast who is successful has this in common. You guys, they love to journal. They capture their life lessons and what they're grateful for. But a lot of people don't keep this up consistently. And most people do know that the research shows that journaling deepens your gratitude and increases self-awareness. But did you also know that journaling decreases stress and helps you achieve your goals faster? In fact, journaling is a huge differentiator between average performers at work and high-performing people. It leads to longer-term clarity, confidence, and success. So why don't more people journal? Why didn't I journal consistently? Honestly, they don't like staring at a blank page. It's hard to carry a book around with you or a notepad, and they just don't even know what to write about, or they just forget. That's why I know that you're going to love Growth Day. It's the world's #1 system for self-improvement, and it's like all-in-one personal development in an app. And it has an awesome digital journal, and people love it. Growth Day's digital journal has hundreds of research-backed writing prompts for self-reflection, positive mindset, confidence building, and success. I use them all the time, and it makes me think in ways that I typically don't, and it makes me ask myself better questions, which we all know gets better results in our life. It even has prompts that help you develop a daily, weekly, or monthly habit of reflecting on your life and identifying areas to grow. So it's a perfect time of year to start journaling, you guys. When you sign up at Growth Day, you also get systems for habit tracking, goal setting, and scoring, and improving every area of your life. Best of all, I get to teach there too, you guys. I'm so excited. I hope that I get to see you. I teach live in Growth Day every single month with a new topic just for you. So join me there. Start your free trial at growthday.com/Lori.